Chord of the Rings recap March 24th. On this week's Chord of the Rings, the Chord started, of course, talking about the newly released Update 35. The update released last Wednesday with huge, massive patch notes. My patch report for this update was almost an hour long, so that should tell you something. Of course, with this update, we got the Captain and the Warden, the big reworks for these classes. And overall, my early impressions is that these reworks have also been quite successful, just like the mini rework that we recently got. So in general, I'm pretty satisfied with the way the classes are being reworked. Blue Warden, once again, is a really good tank, and it's quite healthy for the game to see. Red Warden feels good. Just Warden in general feels a lot smoother to play. There's still some minor complaints about Blue Warden having to keep up all those buffs, and we're not 100% sure if Red Warden has landed exactly where it should be, but I think most people would agree that Red Warden is in a better place now than it was before, and I think for sure we're going to see, if we don't see a Blue Warden, we're definitely going to see a Red Warden in a meta build for a raid. When it comes to the Captain, as far as I know, Red Captain feels pretty good. Playing as a Red Cappy that buffs the group has more meaning now. I haven't really played a lot of Red Captain myself, but I'm in the process of gearing my Red Captain, so I'll get a feel for how it plays. And when it comes to, of course, Blue Captain, the Blue Captain is now viable for 3-mans and 6-mans, probably for raids too. I don't think a Captain will replace one of the main healers, but it's nice to know that Blue Captain can hold its own in a 6-man, 3-man, or raid. And in my early playtime of Yellow Captain feels really good right now. I know a lot of people said, oh, Yellow Captain's gonna be dead. I think actually Yellow Captain probably got stronger as a tank. It feels like their overall healing went down a bit, which is fine, but as a tank, I feel much stronger on my Captain. With this update, we also got the power revamp, where everyone has much higher power pools, and early stages of the power rework I think is also a success. It's not really painful to keep power on most classes. I don't think any class has power issues if they eat regen food, and so far I would say that it's pretty much a perfect balance for where I personally would like power to be, whereas it's something that if you don't eat food, you might experience a little bit of issues with power, but you have so much self-sustain that if you play correctly, you'll be fine. But just in general, overall, I really like the power revamp as well. We of course got all the mastery fixes for our offensive buffs, and I think it's pretty fair to say that we can feel this. The game feels easier because we do so much damage right now, and hopefully that's something that's going to get balanced over time. But in general, every class just feels stronger now, and it's a fun time for the game, running around being a bit OP, and hopefully, I think personally we need to be tuned down slightly or just buff the enemies a little bit because of this. And of course we had some PvMP work with weeklies being added, and of course Ghynyverse moving into the mine in Isendeep. So a lot of exciting stuff with this update. Delvings saw some work. We got the Delvings for school and library, and a lot of classes had some work on them. Mainly Runekeeper, I would say, is the other class except for the Captain and Warden, Runekeeper, and some on Hunter. But every class got some minor touches on them. And of course we have the 2 new 3-mans and a 6-man. And in general, I would say the instances are fun to play. Right now, I would say that considering that we're fully geared, I think these instances are balanced pretty well. And it's going to be interesting to see when we get tier 4 and tier 5 of the 3-mans and the 6-man to see how people deal with that. If you need to add a healer to the 3-mans, etc. But just in general, for update 35, except for some stuff with the loot, there's no class items for some classes, which is really bad. Champion, Bjorning, and Guardians don't have class items, and there's some issues with some, like the heavy shield dropping only for Bjorning as far as I hear, some might pieces dropping on agility, just some issues with the itemization and drop rates. But other than those minor issues, I would give this update a big thumbs up. A lot of quality of life improvements. Update 35 is a really good update in my opinion. Chord also talked about our next game update, and this update is going to be roughly scheduled for this week, and of course our next update would be update 35.0.1, and Chord hinted that we might probably see it on Wednesday. And of course, after such a big update, it's normal to get a really small minor patch the week after, and some known issues that have been discovered will be fixed with this update. And of course, we can all huff the copium. I hope that we're gonna get class items added for Bjorning, Champion, and Guardian. Maybe a gold bow or a gold shield or something. Just give them something. It feels really bad if your class gets shut out of some loot tables or loot pools. I really hope they add class items for the remaining classes, and hopefully they can figure out the way their stuff is dropping and kind of smooth that out as well. So hoping for some good news with this week's update 35.0.1 update. And when it comes to the update 35 known issues, excluding the class items and the dropping of stuff, you're currently not able to complete chapter 4 of the Angmar Reborn story because we need the raid for this. I believe this will be fixed with this update so you can actually complete it without doing the raid. And of course, the barter at the new place, get the ports and the return skills, you actually need the tier 1 raid completion deed, which I can pretty much guarantee is not intended. For sure, you should be able to get ports without having the raid deed. So I'm expecting this one to get changed as well. The 3-man Taurisgar, the deed titles you get from that have not been translated. That will probably also be fixed. And there's also an issue with the 3-man Scent lore, and I believe it's on the solo version where you have the NPC with you. And if you talk to the NPC or kill the boss in the wrong order, you're not going to be able to complete the instance. That can be bypassed by leaving and entering the instance again, but this will also be fixed with this next update. Another interesting thing that Court hinted to was a special Court of the Rings next week. So if this happens, it will be an earlier start because I believe Court is going to go see I think it's a D&D movie or something at 1 p.m. So Court of the Rings will have to be earlier next Friday, either 10 or 11 a.m. And Court kind of hinted that he had something fun planned, like a fun thing happening on this stream. It's kind of hard to think what that could be, but he said it will be a surprise for a lot of people on stream and that some people might really enjoy this. So if this happens, it's going to be interesting to see what this quote-unquote surprise is. But of course, if this does not happen, then there's no Court of the Rings next week. So it's either going to be 10 or 11 a.m. start next Friday, or no Court of the Rings for next week. There were some questions from the chat about carryalls. People really want to be able to sell directly from carryalls, especially when it comes to the junk item carryalls. Would be a nice quality of life improvement, so you don't have to bring all the stuff out of the carryalls and then have to sell it, which is kind of annoying. As Cord says to a lot of these questions, it's not in their immediate plans, but it would be nice, a good quality of life upgrade that they possibly might look into. People also asked about Essence carryalls being sold in the store, if that could happen. And of course, pretty much the same reply, not in the near future plans, but it could happen in the future. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about crafting, not a lot. So the thing about crafting was that in the patch notes for update 35, there was a note about craftable traceries. And from what Cord was saying, how he was talking about this, it seems like this might be an oversight, and these notes were added into this patch by accident. And instead, it seems like this is possibly a future crafting note that got added in by mistake. So it's quite possible that we'll see craftable traceries as part of the big crafting revamp in the future. There was a little talk about in-game voice as well. And yeah, it does work. I use it sometimes in my raids. It's kind of funny hearing how bad the quality is compared to like if you're in a Discord call or something like that. It is old technology, mid-2000s technology. I believe they use technology from another brand's voice comms or something. Like Core also said, it does work. If people want to use it, that's fine. But in my opinion, it's a non-issue because most people, they use Discord, TeamSpeak, whatever. We don't need the in-game voice, but it's nice to have it there if for some reason you want to talk in-game. And the final note we're going to talk about is, of course, the long-awaited new raid and some info about this raid. Cord said we can expect this raid to release within weeks, not months, and it's scheduled to go live sometime in April. So I think it's pretty safe to assume that within 4 weeks we're going to get the raid, maybe in, let's say, 3 to 4 weeks, probably late April. I would rather the raid be delayed as long as possible and be bug-free and work properly instead of an early rushed release. When we get the raid, of course, as is the norm, we're going to get Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 on release. The court said he would have more info about this next week, and if not, then the week after. We should know more about a set release date. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing to help out the channel, leave a like, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next one. If you're playing or looking to play Lord of the Rings online, there is one place you need to be. The Ghyniverse! The Ghyniverse is a community Discord server for the game Lord of the Rings Online. In this server, you'll find anything from giveaways. There's also a frequently asked questions channel that I would recommend checking out first. You'll be able to see when I put out new YouTube videos, whenever I stream. You can also ask for the streamer role, and you'll be able to post your own streams in this server for everyone to see. There's currently over 5,000 members in this Discord, and it keeps growing. You will also find discussion channels about the game, LOTRO. You can ask any questions in the help channel. There's discussions for every single class in the game and PvP. But one of the best things about this server is the best in slot items section. In this section you can find trait lines for every single class. You will find screenshots of the current best gear being displayed. In this channel you'll find charts showing what stats you need for your characters, mitigations, mastery crit, finesse, but you'll also find useful information about drop rates in different instances. I hope you will consider joining my server, and maybe one day I'll see you in Middle Earth.